And welcome to part 4 of the Challenger 1 tank build from emodels.co.uk with Ted here. Join us in this part as I'm putting some of the detailed parts on the upper hull assembly. It's really starting to come together now. In the last part we got the rear panel assembled and that was glued on to the lower hull. That's really about that part finished now, so we can put that to one side until we need it later on. I've carried on and added 1 or 2 parts already on this. It is quite intricate. There are some small parts, and I really would suggest that for this part of the build that you get yourself some tweezers. There's quite a few small parts. It is quite fiddly, and just take your time. Follow the instructions. If you're following this build yourself and building your own Challenger, follow the instructions. They're quite clear. All the parts are easily identified and they go on really easily. Remember though that we are building the NATO version in this, so if you're wanting to carry on and build the desert version, just follow the instructions through and go along. It's the same principle, mostly the same parts, and it's coming together. One part that I did find for this build was these headlights, if the camera can quite come into focus for us a moment. Is these headlights in here. There are a number of parts in them. It's a bit of a headlight cage assembly with the lights inside. Just take care. I would suggest that on the instructions, if you're following the instructions, I would suggest that you fit the headlights inside first and then build the cage around them. Let it all set up, let the glue go off and let it all harden, because they are quite fragile. But once they're on, they really look the part. So let's get on. Let's add a few more extra parts to this. What I'm about to do first was attach the toolbox to the upper near side rear of the hull, so things go together easily. I'll just give it some glue, and I did notice with this part when I dry fit it just before you came along that it slides around a little bit, even slides off onto the bench. Just put it on there, and it doesn't fit flush to the hull. It sits back. If you look on the instructions, you'll actually see it just sits a little bit back and not quite flush. So that's that on there. The tow wires, I did notice another point is the tow wires. I've already put one on this side. There's another one to go on the other side, so I'll just find it from my box. Bit of a tip of the clip. Look for these. These are takeaway tubs that you get from the local takeaway. I find them ideal for storing sub-assemblies, parts that you're going to need next. Keeps everything together. Quite a secure lid, and really handy for storing everything. You'll even see that I store my paints and everything in them. Soon have quite a collection. The hull and the tow rope. You'll find that on the instructions it says to stick it to the side of the hull, but there's really no indication where to stick them, where to glue them. However, if you shine it into the light, it won't be able to pick it up on the camera, but if you shine it into the light, you'll actually see there is a little score line of where to put these tow ropes. What I'm going to do first is first of all make sure we got it the right way up. Just having a look on your instructions, get it the right way up, and just glue one end. Just glue the one end in first. Just apply the polished cement. Apply that piece in first and just hold it on the indentation just on the hull. Just hold it on and the next bit will all line up itself. There we go. That's that bit grabbed a bit there. This piece here, find my glue brush. And just drop it down and it will glue itself to the hull. Now then, the cable itself is a bit wavy. It's meant to represent a big steel hawser. The cable itself's quite wavy, but the brackets would need to be in line. So just get the middle ones, just hold it in about the middle of the edge of the tank, drop a glue behind it, just hold it till it goes off. That's the first one done. Okay, and then the rest, just lining them up really by eye. Doesn't have to be perfect. Just a drop of glue on each. Just look along them, just look along the fronts, just check that they're all in line, so that the brackets themselves are lined up, but the cable itself is wavy and not the other way around. Gives an impression of a big steel hawser just bolted to the side of the tank. And there we are, that's that bit done. So this part really does come together quite quickly. There's a few parts I've got on the bench here. These are track maintenance tools, I understand. These are on the NATO version of the build. If you're doing the desert version, you won't actually need these parts because there's some chobham armour that goes on the front of the tank and you won't need them. So just putting those on there. Just a drop of glue. Just hold them in place. There we go. This is a big lever for adjusting the tanks. Tracks, I understand that on the front here that this would fit in there somewhere and they would use it to pull the idler wheel forward just to tension the track, so I'm told. Sort of adjusting your, as you would probably adjust the rear wheel on your push bike, just to tighten the chain. Right, we'll find the right way around for this. Just check with the instructions. Once again, as I say, this part here again is for the NATO version. There we go, that's right. Find the tweezers. Just a touch of glue. Everywhere on the hull there's a part to go. There's a little indentation mark so you can find it easily fits. Find the right place for it to go. That's that bit. Now there's a type of a bracket assembly. Two little locating lugs on the back to go on the two little locating holes on the front of the hull. Okay. I think that's about all done now. There are some more parts to fit onto the front of the hull. There's one part here and one part here, which are actually, if you look at the part itself, part A16. If you're following this build, it's part A16. They're actually fire extinguishers. Now then, I intend to leave those fire extinguishers off for the time being, because once they're painted, there's provided some decals for them, and I think they're going to be a little bit fiddly just to try and apply the decals onto them if they're already glued to the tank. We'll leave them off for the time being, and hopefully remember to apply them when we've done the build. Next part, let's have a look in our box of bits. Is a wading bar. We have seen tanks going through huge puddles, I'm sure, and this is a wading bar that stops most of the water going up the hull and filling the driver's compartment. You wouldn't be a happy chappy with a compartment full of water. So this is a wading bar just to deflect the water away from him. Easy to go on. Once again, there's a recess into the hull. There's a locating lug on the bar, on the wading bar itself, and it fits in there. Fits in there like that. Next part is a piece of, I'm not quite sure what these bits are. I believe there are bits of rubber, just to prevent the tank, the gun, just bouncing on the tank itself. Whether that's right or whether I'm misinformed, maybe somebody could let me know what these bits of rubber are really for. Probably also some way I would think of keeping the tank dry, like the wading bar at the front if it was going through water. Maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong. There, go on. There's two sides to these. Make sure that the leading edges, make sure that when you put these parts on, the leading edges, the rounded edges, face forward. You can get them the wrong way around, but just make sure that the rounded edges face forward on the tank, and looking like that. Now then, there's some more there's some tools to go on here. There's a shovel, pickaxe head, I think that's probably the pickaxe handle, and a big lever bar. We'll fit them shortly. I'll put those, start and get those in position, and then we'll look at moving on to the next bit, which I think we'll start and look at the turret. Okay, I'll get these parts on, let the glue go off from what we've done already, and then we'll look at getting the turret parts out of the box and cutting them off and cleaning them up. So I'll be back with you in a moment. Okay, so that's all the detail done now on the upper hull with the extra parts added, the tools and such. One thing I did notice as I was sat, as the glue was going off and hardening off, I did comment before that the tools for the track tensioning weren't needed in the desert version. In fact, they are. It's just that they're not fitted at this stage. You put the chobber armour on the front first, and then the track tools go on top of that. So I'd stand corrected. That's the point of reading the instructions as you go along. Right, so we'll put that now to one side. I've added all the extra bits on it, and it's ready for fitting into the bottom part of the hull. It actually sits on this clip here, and these two poly caps, poly bushes here. Just a matter of sitting in there, and it pushes down on the front. But we'll leave that for the time being. We can put that to the side, and we'll actually, for those of you who are following this, we're going to actually now skip a few steps in the instructions, as the next parts of it refer to fitting the desert armour and the desert fittings, which we're not doing, or I'm not doing on this model. I'm doing the NATO version. Also, we're leaving off the tracks. It does say in this part to add the tracks, but we'll leave them till the last stage, as we don't really need to do them yet. Plus the wheels and everything are going to come off for painting. Anyway, so we skip a few steps and we get on now to the turret. So what I've done, once again, while the glue has been setting on the upper hull, I've taken some time and got one or two parts of the turret fit together. I have noticed in this, and speaking to one or two others that have actually built this tank, that there is a little bit of a bad fit, which is unusual for a Tamiya. There's a little bit of a bad fit just in here behind the rear turret bin. The bin itself doesn't actually meet the back of the armour on the tank. Now then, you can either leave as it is, because as the extra fittings go on, you won't really see it. Plus it's hidden with the turret, the bin lid, which will sit on there like that in due course. And there's one or two extra fittings to go on the side, so that that little gap there won't really be seen. Anyway, we move on. We've added those parts, and now the part about fitting the gun. We have here the gun itself in two parts. There's also the muzzle, that piece that goes on there, and there's a part which I suppose you could call a breech really, which will sit in there. And this part is actually bolted on, so we'll get on and do that now. Choosing up the right way. You will find that once again there's a right way and a wrong way. The barrel will go together like that, and the breech, we'll call this the breech, will actually only fit in one way. There's a locating bar in there for it to sit, so it'll only go in one way. So we make sure we've got it the right way up, which is that way up. It's actually bolted together, a metallic nut and bolt. That will sit in there like that. Put the bolt in, put the nut on. Bit of a fiddle, let's do it this way. Big fingers, little parts. So you should follow the instruction, get to this part. There's a little part that sits in there as well that's glued in. Take your Phillips driver and hopefully it should be able to screw it up. It does say to screw in firmly, but there's firm and there's too firm where you'll just snap it. Okay, that goes like that. Now the barrel itself, I've found that when this goes together, it would glue together there, okay, but when it comes to the top end, it splays apart like a broken twig. So the way to get round this is to take the muzzle, and the muzzle you see on top of there is that's actually a rubber cap covering a highly polished mirror. That's the muzzle reference system, and that sits on the end of the barrel like that. So what I would recommend you do is take the muzzle, put some glue in the parts, drop of glue just in the muzzle. There's only one way up. Once again, it's moulded so that it will only fit one way up, the right way. A little bit of a fiddle to get these together. And she will go, he says, lost it. Like that. That's it. That's glued on. That's going to hold that end of the muzzle together. Now then, just draw them together and just run a touch of glue into the gap. If you're using liquid poly, the liquid itself will run along the gap. The same on the other side. Now it's a pretty good fit. There we go. Now then, what I would do is take a couple of clamps, the close pegs or something like, and just clip it together just to hold it while the glue goes off. Then that will sit in there. We'll leave it for now, otherwise we just want to make sure it's all right. Leave it for now, it can always be fit later. Just make sure, just have a look down the end, just to make sure it's all lined up and it's not pushing itself apart. Now then, this is a 120mm gun. I understand it still holds the record on the Challenger 1 tank. The Challenger 1 tank still holds a record for the world's longest recorded tank kill of over 5,100 meters, which is nearly 3 miles. Apparently that was done in the desert, and the desert made it possible because of the large expanse of open space. A pretty powerful gun to do a kill at 3 miles. We have difficulty seeing anything at 3 miles, never mind knocking it out. And as I say, on this end here is the muzzle reference system, fired from the sighting port at this end of the barrel. A laser is fired to measure whether the barrel is still in position after every couple of shots. It's just measured along with the laser. As I say, there's a highly polished metal reflector in there, because apparently glass wouldn't stand the shock wave from the firing gun. Anyway, that's that part done. We're looking now to put the top of the turret onto the bottom. Once again on this part, like we did, if you remember what we did with the driver's periscope, we left out his optics. We're going to put them in later after we've painted. We could do the same here. There's the commander's optics. I think it's the commander's optics in the front of the tank. We'll leave them out as well, once again, till after we've painted that, and then that can all go together. So we've added all the parts that we needed up to here, and this is where the turret goes together. So just make sure it's all lined up. Checking again, using your instructions as a reference. Yep, all good. Right, we take some glue and just run it into the gap. Nice firm click as it all fits together nicely. Remember, not too much glue, just enough to wet the surfaces. Let the glue do the work, melts the plastic, bonds it together, actually welds it together. Okay, right, as the instructions say now, what we need to do is get ourselves some sellotape and hold it together. Just a touch in there. Continue right round using sellotape just to clamp. Simple, cheap and effective. Okay, there we are. Now then, once again, just let that set, leave it to one side, let the glue go off, and in the meantime you can be having a look for your other parts. And what we will have a look at next is doing the turret bins. We can get these built. There's a number of choices. You can either choose the toolbox or the baskets. There is a basket on the front which is the camouflage bin for the camouflage net, and there's a couple of baskets. So if you get on and build those parts together, when I come back we'll have a look at putting the netting on. Okay, so that's the turret all glued together now and taped up, ready to set. I have added some of the side armour parts on the side of the turret itself, and I've also put the turret bin lid on the top, and just ready to add all the detail to it now. Now before we go, before we end this clip, I will talk about adding the turret baskets. If you decide to add the baskets rather than the toolbox, the kit provides you with some of this nylon mesh to make the basket itself. The baskets go together with a bit of a fiddle. It was probably best that I didn't video that bit actually, because there was quite a bit of swearing involved, as the parts are quite fiddly to get together. However, they do go together quite well. And then to add to these you need to put this nylon mesh on it. The instructions themselves give you some templates to cut to, and I found that doing these, it really makes your eyes go funny, because if you put the mesh on there, because of the mesh pattern on the template, it really sends your eyes out of focus. So the way I found it to do was actually take the basket, make sure it's nice and firm and all the glue's dried, put the mesh over the part where you want to cut, and taking scissors just slice the mesh to the size that you want. And there, if you cut it a little bit oversized, don't worry, because you can trim all that down after it's been glued. So there we go, that's that one there, that will be glued on there. The camouflage basket, the basket for the camouflage net is a little bit more fiddly to do, but the same principle. Just take your basket, take a bit of the mesh, put it over and just trim, and it's a lot easier than trying to cut them out from the template. Plus, if you try to cut it out on the instruction sheet itself, the mesh is a little bit like armour to try and cut through your Stanley knife, because it's pressing into the paper of the instructions, so it's a little bit easier to do it this way. Now then, putting the mesh on, it actually goes on here with liquid poly. So take some. What we're really needing to do this time is we're actually going to melt the plastic, and the mesh will actually embed itself into the melted plastic. So put a bit on, and glue it in. Take your time with it, don't fiddle with it, just let it go in. If you find it's not really working for you, try some super glue. I have tried this, I've tried it on some spare bits of plastic. It does work, it just takes a bit of time and patience, just let it go. So you're trying to, that plastic will embed into the styrene, the netting will embed itself into the styrene. There we go, that's that side on. As I say, leave the excess on for until it all goes hard, and then you can trim that off and it'll be perfect, it'll be a perfect fit. So continue doing with them, both parts, that being there, that basket there, and the camouflage net basket, that one as well. Let's try a piece of this. This is part F for the instructions. We'll go on the side. There is quite a bit of netting. This is what's left, so there's quite a bit. So if you get it wrong, don't worry, there's plenty there to try again. Just on this camouflage net basket, there's a few curves, so just do one side at a time, like we did on the other basket. Do one side at a time, let it go off, then put the next one on. Trim it to size. Okay, that's it for today. That's it for this video. We'll carry on and make these nets. Then if you're following this video, what you can do once you've fitted these netting on the camouflage on the baskets, we'll have a look. We'll put all the detail onto the tank, onto the turret, get it all together for next time, and then we'll look at getting it prepared for painting. And we're nearly there, nearly getting through your Challenger tank build. So thanks for watching again. This is Ted from emodels.co.uk. So thanks for watching. Look out for the next part, and please, if you have a comment or any questions, please comment on our videos or like them, and we'll look forward to seeing you for the next part of our build. So I'll carry on with this and see you next time.